always awed by corporate culture and flashy things of the fast life. After some years of her job, Pia started to lose interest in her own life. She felt as if her mind was dying a slow death and needed not a short, but a reasonably long break. She had an awesome company of friends, those of whom she felt happy with and spent most of her times. After initial love hiccups, she left her search of finding someone whom she would be attracted to. Pia was simple inside, but the external world attracted her to the extent that it overpowered her decisions to leave it. Not to leave living, but to live own life as her own self was what she internally demanded. However, could not say to her better self outrightly. She was in love with her boss, and when he left the job after marriage, she felt heartbroken. She had secretly thought they would marry at some point, but his sudden marriage news broke her emotionally and she wanted to leave the job. It was time to decide where life wanted to go. It was time to decide where life should go. It was time to decide if all was well and if she needed something more. Time. She needed time. Time to think. A relaxed thinking was needed to restart life at a point where it had suddenly jammed. Well, Pia left her job at 30 when she was at her best. When she was at the peak of her work, she left it. Not just for the loss of love, but also for the loss of her wellness. She left the fast life. She left what she loved for a decade. She left a life to understand another, and probably to enter the next. A path had to be cleared to make road for another. Pia was in pain, or maybe deep introspection. That pain showed her the light of her mind. Na prihashyet priyam prapya, na udichet prapya cha apriyam, sthira buddhihi asammuno, brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. The knower of Brahman, who is established in Brahman, poised in mind and undiluted, is not elated on getting what is pleasant, nor feels worried on getting what is unpleasant. This is Bhagavat Gita chapter 5, verse 20. Not easy to begin from scratch at 30. Having lost love and dying with the feeling that after having it all, she wasn't getting anything, left Pia wretched. She left Bangalore to travel to Pune's unseen sights. She left with her friends. They hiked for days, counseling intermittently that she should not leave job in the middle of nowhere. She built her unabashed career with all her might. And there was no reason why it should have been suddenly dropped, as if it was a piece of cake to reach there. But Pia was thinking in a straight line. From her side, she was straight. Her thought was internal. She looked straight inside. Her treks reminded her of her childhood, her school, friends met and lost, people, handful of those who remained, and times that taught her more than money ever did. She analyzed possibilities of working remotely from a village online till she had more clarity of what lied ahead. Not that something lied, it had to be built up from the ground zero. Pia knew what she lost. She also knew what she was losing while being in that not so satisfying job. These trees. Rain. How I miss myself the most. Pia's words in nature. Losing the love of her life had an irreversible change in her mindset. She knew she had to pick her pieces and live what lies next. After her friends left in a fortnight, Pia was all by herself in a village where she began to teach. Pia was not seeing it as something she would do all life, but she wasn't wanting to do something she has been regularly doing for a decade then. Well, teaching was it. And that school was in the foothills. So she would go up and down the hills with the kids, spend time more with the kids of the nature who were honest and innocent. She ate simple food, wore sober dresses. Above all, this impacted her deeply, and she got some rest out of that humdrum of the material chaos she wanted to escape. Then, one day, a senior teacher from a nearby village came to address the kids in the school for a special assembly. The senior teacher was slightly weird, simply dressed, but surrounded by kids after his session who were trying to know something about rainwater harvesting. He had that air of innocence in his looks, but the outspoken attitude was sketchy. Pia was amazed too. After a brief introduction, Pia and the teacher began to spend the noon over the lunch, talking about possibilities of zero-budget rainwater harvesting in the village areas, and how a small sample model could be developed in the school premises with the help of students. Pia wasn't sure that such experiments were possible in the schooling system. In her knowledge, she didn't know how to assist the students. After an exhibition and lab session with the senior teacher, everyone seemed interested in this project and wanted to take it to further simplification by building smaller modules of harvesting rainwater in the campus. Pia and this teacher started to spend more time together on different educational projects that could be implemented in the neighborhood schools, which would help children learn practically and also contribute to the village life in practical terms. It wasn't possible to remain in that older job and be able to learn newer ways of life. Pia saw how experimental seeds planted in the minds of kids then would help them in their future as a collective. The entire gamut of living sorrow by oneself was a sure emotional demise. School and the teacher gave her a new life, a new energy. Good times and bad times of city didn't have space in that village that required wider creativity to solve challenges scientifically. Good times and bad times are creations of own mind. In a company of people where you can love your work and trust your instincts to be able to trust others around you, makes one have a sounder confidence on own abilities to live each day as a winner. That winning streak was experienced never before. Now count Pia's achievements. A new place, a new school, friends in the form of children, and proximity increasing with a highly promising, talented, creative senior teacher. And what Pia wanted? Now she could say. She wanted herself. Let's also see her internal growth trajectory. Number 1, she lost herself, lost mental peace. Number 2, then she didn't take any adverse step, took to trekking and spending life closer to nature. Number 3, kids gave her energy. Their energy healed her. A sense of collectiveness appealed to her further in rainwater harvesting project, that too in the zero budget. Number 4, zero budget was a constraint, basically a problem. But here, zero budget was seen as a solution. This made her to think deeper about life and negative issues. What we call negative is basically an opportunity for enhanced creativity and innovation. And number 5, emotional turmoils bring love of children and strangers who in regular pace of life would have never gained our attention. Their presence and importance outshines when life is at minus infinity. Pia now welcomed her new life 2.0.